Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we are going on a massive movie-style journey through the absolute entirety of ancient Indian history. Literally, we're taking hours and hours of source material and boiling it all down into one powerful visual timeline. So if you want to really grasp the grand sweep of the subcontinent's past without getting bogged down in the weeds, you are in exactly the right place. Let's get into it.
Here is our roadmap. To make this super efficient, we've chunked thousands of years of human history into 5 distinct epochs: the dawn of civilization, faith and philosophy, the first great empires, the Golden Age, and finally, the rise of Southern powers.
Kicking things off with Section 1, the dawn of civilization, tracking the incredible leap from basic stone tools all the way to planned cities.
So, our journey starts at the absolute beginning of human presence on the subcontinent. We're tracking our ancestors from basic hunter-gatherers using unpolished stones in the Paleolithic period to crafting much sharper, more specialized tools in the Mesolithic. And then, wow, we hit the Neolithic period, a total game changer. Humans finally figure out agriculture, they settle down, and that sets the stage for the Chalcolithic period, where, for the very first time, we see the forging of copper.
Out of that steady early development emerges an absolute crown jewel of the ancient world, the Indus Valley Civilization. We are talking massive, incredibly advanced urban centers here. If you're prepping for exams, you absolutely have to lock these heavy hitters into your memory. Places like Mohenjo-Daro, Harappa, Dholavira with its mind-blowing water management, the bustling port of Lothal, and the massive settlement at Rakhi Garhi.
You know, what's truly staggering about these cities is just their sheer, undeniable complexity. They weren't just barely surviving out there, they were thriving. They engineered this advanced grid system town planning, complete with covered drainage that honestly rivals some modern setups. They innovated in agriculture, domesticated animals, traded using these incredibly sophisticated seals, and wrote in a distinct script that, amazingly enough, still holds a lot of its mysteries today.
Moving right along to Section 2, Faith and Philosophy. This covers the Vedic Age and the birth of new religions.
Right around 1500 BCE, as those Indus urban centers start to fade, the subcontinent shifts gears completely into the Vedic Age. This was a period of deep, intense, intellectual and spiritual awakening. The literature produced here, the 4 distinct Vedas and the profoundly philosophical Upanishads, literally wired the mindscape of India. But it wasn't just high-level philosophy, you know. Society itself fundamentally restructured, cementing the Varna system, which you can even see reflected in how their settlements evolved and in their distinctive painted grayware pottery.
But, as you might expect, as that Vedic society grew more rigid and complex, monumental new philosophies sparked up as a direct response. Jainism, guided by Mahavir Jain, and Buddhism, led by Gautam Buddha, offered these powerful alternative paths. Both of these massive movements codified their teachings in their own texts and councils, and they left behind an awe-inspiring architectural legacy right across the landscape. We're talking everything from towering stupas to intricate temples.
All right, Section 3, First Great Empires. Let's look at the incredible rise of Magadha. So we're shifting gears now from deep philosophy to sheer, ruthless political power. Initially, northern India was fractured into 16 major kingdoms, or Mahajanapadas. Picture 16 bustling capitals, all with intense rivalries. But one kingdom figured out how to capitalize on its strategic location and iron-rich geography. That was Magadha, and it rapidly broke from the pack to become the undeniable superpower of the age.
And Magadha definitely wasn't a one-hit wonder. It was a relentless, snowballing accumulation of power. The Haryanka dynasty laid the initial groundwork, then the Shishunags swept in and pushed those borders even further outward. Finally, the Nanda dynasty took the reins, building a notoriously wealthy and militarily terrifying state, which set the ultimate stage for the big one that came next.
Which brings us, of course, to the mighty Maurya dynasty, India's very first true pan-Indian empire. The royal lineage here is legendary. It passes from the founder Chandragupta Maurya through Bindusara all the way to the great Ashoka. The absolute key takeaway for you here is their mind-bogglingly structured administration. To hold on to a territory that massive, they had to use a rigorous tax system, a sprawling network of specialized officers, and a highly organized military.
Now, to really grasp the scale and efficiency of how they ran things, historians rely heavily on primary texts.
The Indica, written by the Greek ambassador Megasthenes, who was sent over by Seleucus Nicator to Chandragupta's court, is our foundational blueprint here. It gives us this incredible awestruck outsider's perspective on the bustling capital of Patalipatra and all the absolute intricacies of Mauryan governance.
But the true pivotal moment of this entire era was the absolutely bloody Kalinga War. The sheer loss of life there completely transformed Ashoka. He pivoted away from a path of military conquest toward one of Dhamma, or righteous duty. And to spread this new philosophy, he went massive, creating his famous major and minor rock edicts and pillar edicts. He literally inscribed his laws and moral codes onto stones across the entire empire and commissioned magnificent stupas that, incredibly, still stand today.
That brings us to Section 4, the Golden Age, spanning from the post-Maurya period right up to the Gupta Empire.
So, following the fall of the Mauryas, the subcontinent basically plunged into a chaotic power vacuum. Multiple dynasties were suddenly vying for control all at once. You've got the Shungas and Kanvas battling it out in the north, while the Satavahanas rise up in the Deccan. And at the exact same time, there's this massive influx of foreign powers integrating from the northwest, the Indo-Greeks, the Sakas, and finally, the formidable Kushans. It was just a vibrant, incredibly turbulent melting pot of cultures and shifting borders.
Then, out of all that chaos, fierce stability returns with the Gupta Empire. Operating right alongside the influential Vakataka dynasty down in the Deccan, the Guptas ushered in an era of absolutely unparalleled scientific, artistic, and political achievement. This was driven by a powerhouse lineage, from Chandragupta I to the great conqueror Samudragupta, straight through to Skandagupta. Under their patronage, India experienced a true classical golden age.
A massive key for us in decoding this golden age is the Prayag Prashasti, also known as the Allahabad Pillar inscription. It was composed by the court poet Harisena, and it meticulously, beautifully documents the grand military conquests and the sweeping legacy of Samudragupta. It's essentially an ancient, carved-in-stone press release telling the entire world exactly why the Guptas were the undisputed masters of the realm.
Okay, let's hit pause for a second, because we need to shift our focus entirely. We spent a whole lot of time up north, but while the north was busy building and breaking all these massive empires, what exactly was unfolding down in the south? Let's find out in Section 5, the rise of southern powers, from the Sangam Age to Chola dominance.
While the North was doing its thing, a culturally rich and fiercely powerful political landscape evolved entirely on its own terms down south. The absolute bedrock of this is the Sangam Age, defined by the legendary Cheras, Cholas, and Pandyas. And what's really incredible here is the vast output of Sangam literature. We're talking massive assemblies of scholars documenting everything from vibrant maritime trade routes to the epic, bloody battles of these ancient Tamil kingdoms.
Eventually, though, the broader map fractured again into an ancient, high-stakes power struggle. Up north, this took the form of the famous tripartite struggle, literally a brutal three-way war for control of the Kanauj triangle between the Palas, Gurjar Pratiharas, and Rashtrakutas. Meanwhile, the south witnessed the phenomenal imperial rise of the Cholas, who dominated the landscape alongside other heavyweights like the Chalukyas and Pallavas. And what is truly spectacular is how these rival dynasties expressed their immense wealth and power. They built it in stone. Temple architecture evolved into three magnificent, distinct styles. You have the towering, beehive-shaped Nagara style in the north, the massive, terraced Dravida style perfected by the Cholas in the south, and the Visara style, which brilliantly hybridized the two right in the Deccan. These weren't just places of worship either. They were the actual economic and political epicenters of their worlds. So, as we wrap up this massive, rapid, chronological sweep of the source material, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. From the meticulously planned grid streets of Mohenjo-daro, through the profound philosophical awakenings of the Vedic Age, all the way to the towering stone majesty of the Chola temples, which of these incredible, world-shaping eras do you think has left the most enduring legacy on the very foundation of the India we know today? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep that curiosity alive.